They follow orders. That's the rule. No names, no stories, just targets. Clean, detached, and precise. But the moment your photo hit the table, everything changed. The room froze. Men who've taken out kings and ghosts without flinching suddenly didn't know what to do. One of them, a former hitman, cold-blooded and carved by years of violence, broke the silence. He pushed back from the table and said just 5 words. Not this one. Don't touch. He saw something in your image that they couldn't explain. It wasn't fear, it was warning. He knew the type. You don't break people like you. You awaken them. And once that happens, there's no turning back. Because you're not bringing bullets or revenge. You're bringing consequence, truth, a force that dismantles their entire system. Before we go deeper into this story, and trust me, it only gets more intense, take a moment to do 3 things. Hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 5,000 subscribers, and leave a comment for them. Let them know you see through the silence. If you're still watching, it's because you're not just a viewer. You're part of the reason this story has power. Now let's get into it. There are moments when silence speaks louder than words. When an entire room filled with hardened men trained to obey without question suddenly freezes because of a single image. Your photo was not just another face on a list. It was a spark that ignited fear and uncertainty. It shattered the ironclad rules that bound these men together, sending shockwaves through their cold, unyielding ranks. Imagine a gathering of killers, professionals who thrive on control, on order, on the certainty of their deadly assignments. Then, your face appears on their radar, and everything changes. One veteran, a man who had taken lives, without blinking, pulled back, his eyes betraying a rare emotion. Terror. It wasn't the usual fear of death or failure. It was the haunting recognition of something far worse. This was no ordinary target. Your presence carried weight beyond what bullets could touch. The mission's objective was clear, but your photo rewrote the script entirely. It broke invisible barriers, revealing a dangerous truth that even the coldest assassins couldn't ignore. It was as if the very air in the room thickened with a new kind of threat, one that no weapon could counter. What unfolded next wasn't hesitation. It was an awakening, a realization that whoever you were, you weren't just another name on a list. You were the storm that had come to rewrite the rules of engagement, and the consequences of that were terrifying for those who thought they had the upper hand. In that frozen moment, you became more than a target. You became a symbol of the unknown, the unchallengeable, a silent message that sometimes power lies not in the shot fired, but in the story untold behind a single defiant face. There is a code among killers, a brutal understanding passed down through whispered legends and hardened experience. It's a code that says, follow orders, complete the mission, leave no witnesses. But even within this ruthless world, there comes a point when the instinct for survival clashes with something deeper: respect for forces unseen and dangers unspoken. One man, a former hitman with a lifetime of shadows behind him, faced this crossroads. His hands, steady through countless contracts, trembled for the first time at the sight of your photo. He knew the mission was no longer about contracts or money. It was about survival against a force beyond understanding. This was not just a job. It was a warning, writ in flesh and bone. It's one thing to be trained to kill. It's another to understand the consequences when the rules no longer apply. This ex-hitman, who had embraced death as an old friend, suddenly found himself confronted with a terror so raw it shattered his steel nerve, the kind of fear that's not about you, but about what follows in your wake. Killers don't back down lightly. They don't surrender without reason. But when your image became the trigger for this unprecedented retreat, it revealed the gravity of your existence. It sent a message loud and clear. Some fights aren't meant to be fought, not with guns or blades, but with something far more potent: legend, reputation, survival instinct. This rare act of stepping away wasn't weakness. It was survival wisdom, earned through years of blood and regret. When even killers hesitate, you know you are more than just a target. You are a force that commands respect, even from the darkest corners of the underworld. In the cold, clinical world of contracts and assassinations, photographs are just identifiers, faces to mark, names to erase. But your photo did something no bullet ever could. It stopped the mission dead in its tracks. It became a silent weapon, sharper than any blade, more effective than any gun. It's hard to explain the power held in a single image until you see what it can do. Your photo didn't just mark you as a target. It unraveled the mission's very foundation. It exposed hidden fears, disrupted loyalties, and forced a reevaluation of everything these men thought they knew. The air grew heavy, charged with uncertainty. Bullets can only reach the flesh. Your photo reached deeper, into minds and memories, into a web of untold stories and unseen threats. It forced those men to confront something they had long buried: the truth that some enemies aren't defeated with firepower alone. Some enemies exist in shadows, in whispers, in the ghosts of past deeds. This wasn't about violence or bloodshed. It was about power, the intangible kind that comes from reputation, myth, and fear. Your image became a symbol of that power, a visual command that this mission was not business as usual. It unsettled the killers because it carried the weight of consequences far beyond their understanding. The irony is brutal. A simple photo, something so ordinary, became the deadliest weapon in the room. It stopped what years of training and ruthless efficiency could not. And that is the true mark of a force to be reckoned with. Within the shadowy world of hired killers, hesitation is a luxury rarely afforded and often punished by death. Yet, there was one man, seasoned and ruthless, who broke this unspoken rule when faced with your photo. He refused to pull the trigger, not out of mercy, but out of a paralyzing terror. This man had lived in darkness for years. He had ended lives without remorse, buried secrets deep within his soul, and walked away from carnage that would haunt most. But when he saw you, something in him cracked. His resolve shattered, and for the first time, fear overpowered duty. He didn't act out of compassion or kindness. This was primal self-preservation. He understood that going after you wasn't a matter of a successful kill. It was a death sentence. The consequences weren't just about him, but about the entire chain of command that had dared to send him on this mission. His refusal was a seismic event in a world built on unquestioning obedience. It sent shockwaves through the ranks, showing that even the coldest killers recognize when the stakes have changed, when the enemy is not just flesh and blood, but a force of nature. This rare act of defiance proved one thing, that you are not an ordinary target. You are a turning point, a pivot in a deadly game where even the most hardened hitmen know when to retreat. The terror that gripped the hitman wasn't born from the threat you posed directly. It was something far more sinister, the fear of what comes after, the unseen consequences that trail behind you like a shadow, dragging those who dare to cross your path into chaos and destruction. This is a fear rooted in stories whispered in dark alleys and behind closed doors, tales of rivals and enemies who vanished, of operatives who never returned, and of missions that ended in catastrophe. Your reputation, your presence, was a harbinger of doom far beyond the immediate danger. Fear of you isn't about your strength or skill alone. It's about the ripple effect you cause. The enemies you make aren't just obstacles to be eliminated. They are warnings to be heeded. They represent a deadly chain reaction, a peril that extends beyond the bullet or blade. This kind of fear is ancient and primal. It's not just about survival. It's about the instinct to avoid destruction on a scale that no one wants to face. The hitman knew this, felt it deeply, and that's why he walked away. Because crossing you isn't just a fight. It's a gamble with death, loss, and ruin written into the stakes. In the end, it's the aftermath, not the encounter, that terrifies those who come for you. And that is the true power you wield. Discipline is the foundation of any elite force, especially among killers trained to follow orders without question. This rigid hierarchy depends on absolute loyalty, unquestioning obedience, and a brutal efficiency that leaves no room for doubt. But your arrival disrupted all of that. Your photo was a wrench thrown into a finely tuned machine. It shattered the unbreakable chain of command, forcing those men to reconsider everything they thought they knew. Suddenly, the mission was no longer just another contract. It became a puzzle They weren't equipped to solve a threat they couldn't face with standard protocols. The power of your presence lay in how it exposed fractures within their ranks. Men who once marched in lockstep began to hesitate, question, and ultimately defy orders. One by one, the invisible threads holding them together unraveled as your image sparked a wave of uncertainty and fear. This breakdown of loyalty and discipline was unprecedented. It revealed a truth that even the most ruthless operatives couldn't deny. Sometimes the rules have to be rewritten. Sometimes the enemy is so formidable that the old playbook becomes useless. You didn't just break the chain of command, you exposed its weakness. You showed that true power comes not from obedience, but from challenging the system itself. To your enemies, you are far more than a target to be eliminated. You are a statement, a symbol, a warning wrapped in flesh and blood. Your existence sends a message so potent that it echoes through the darkest corners of the underworld, shaking even the most hardened operatives to their core. This message is clear. Crossing you is not just a personal attack, it is a declaration of war. It challenges the status quo, disrupts power structures, and forces those who follow to rethink their loyalties and strategies. You embody the consequences of defiance and the unstoppable force of retribution. Unlike typical targets, who can be erased quietly and efficiently, you represent something larger. Your survival, your reputation, and the fear you inspire are weapons that don't need guns or knives. They are the kind of weapons that linger, that haunt, that change the game entirely. Being the message means you are a catalyst. Your existence provokes change, forces reckonings, and ensures that those who come after you think twice, not just about the mission, but about what they risk in the process. In this way, you transcend the role of prey. You become the harbinger of an entirely new reality, one where fear, respect, and power are rewritten on your terms. In the ruthless world of professional killers, walking away from a mission is almost unheard of. It's a breach of contract, a death sentence, and a mark of failure. Yet, faced with your photo, one man, a veteran with countless kills under his belt, did exactly that. He turned his back and walked away. This decision was not made lightly. It came from a place of profound respect for the danger you represent, and an instinctive understanding that this was no ordinary job. For the first time in his life, the line between duty and survival blurred, and survival won. His choice sent shockwaves through the underground network. It challenged the very essence of what it meant to be a killer, to follow orders without hesitation, no matter the cost. But when the mission was you, hesitation became wisdom, and retreat became the smartest move. This rare act of defiance humanized the killer, exposing a vulnerability that few ever see. It revealed that even those who live in darkness have limits, limits defined not by loyalty, but by fear and respect for something greater than themselves. His walk away wasn't just a refusal, it was a warning to everyone else. It was proof that you are a force powerful enough to make even the most hardened killers question everything. There exists among killers a sacred, unspoken code: silence, loyalty, and unquestioning obedience. This code binds them, creating a shield of trust that keeps the machinery of death running smoothly. But your image shattered that silence. It cracked the armor of loyalty. Before your photo surfaced, these men operated with cold efficiency. They didn't ask questions. They didn't show doubt. They followed orders like ghosts, silent, invisible, lethal. But your image forced a rupture in this system, exposing cracks no one thought possible. The power of that photo was its ability to communicate without words. It spoke of danger, consequences, and stories too terrible to share openly. It was a silent scream that broke the code, turning allies into skeptics and followers into doubters. This breach changed everything. It introduced hesitation where there was none, fear where there was certainty, and uncertainty where there was once unwavering trust. The code was no longer unbreakable. In that rupture lies your greatest strength, the ability to disrupt the invisible rules of the deadly game, forcing enemies to question, hesitate, and ultimately retreat. Some men have a past written in blood, killers who have erased countless lives without a second thought. Yet, faced with you, one such man refused to act. His experience, his history of violence, gave way to something rare: respect mixed with fear. He's no stranger to death. He has buried bodies, silenced witnesses, and lived with ghosts that haunt every shadow. But when it came to you, that experience wasn't enough. There was a line he wouldn't cross, a mission he wouldn't accept. This refusal speaks volumes. It reveals the power you wield without firing a single shot. It tells a story of a man who knows what comes after, who understands that your fate isn't just about a kill. It's about a reckoning that no one wants to face. His silence, his refusal, echoes louder than any gunshot. It is a testament to the invisible force you represent, a force that can make even the most ruthless men hesitate, reconsider, and ultimately walk away. In the deadly calculus of life and death, you are the variable that defies prediction, the one mission no one wants to take on. Eyes don't lie. They reveal truths hidden beneath layers of armor, stories told without words, and emotions that even the strongest try to hide. When that ex-hitman looked into your eyes, whether in a photo or in person, something primal stirred within him. What he saw wasn't just defiance or fearlessness. It was a reflection of a lifetime of pain, strength, and an unyielding will to survive. It was the gaze of someone who had faced death countless times and emerged stronger. Someone who carried scars that told a story of battles won and losses endured. This gaze made him flinch because it forced him to confront a truth he couldn't escape. You were not just a target, but a force shaped by trials that few could understand. Your eyes spoke of a relentless spirit that no bullet could silence. In that moment, his confidence cracked. The hardened killer saw something he had spent years trying to bury, the raw, unbreakable power of a soul that refused to be broken. It's rare for the hunter to be unsettled by the hunted. But when your eyes meet theirs, that's exactly what happens. Most killers are mercenaries, motivated by profit, contracts paid in cold, hard cash. Targets are chosen based on price tags and political gains. But you don't fit into that transactional world. You come with a price far greater than money. Your value isn't measured in dollars or favors. It's measured in the consequences of the attempt, in the chaos unleashed by anyone who dares to come after you. You are a liability that no amount of money can justify. This creates a paradox. While others hunt for profit, those assigned to your case realize that the cost of failure is beyond payment. It is destruction, death, and ruin. The stakes are no longer financial, but existential. In this brutal calculus, your presence turns the tables. You become the ultimate risk, the assignment too dangerous